Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about major objectives of the planning in this chapter, that is planning in India. Okay, let's come to the topic. So planning for India was an instrument to realize the aspirations and dreams of the future. Okay, so we know that foundation of the future India were not laid in one day. So in one day we are not able to decide the future of India. Okay, so the cherished dream about the future, so that had evolved through a long drawn process of the entire period of the freedom struggle. Okay, so the important nationalist leaders and even common people and important leaders, industrialists, there's so many people who has knowledge and who are very important in the philosophy. So they thought about how the India should be, okay, after independence. So this is the long drawn process. They thought about it, that their thinking was very different, because before independence we struggled. So that's why we never be struggled by any other country. So that's why we have to improve ourselves in the standard of living, and we have to come out from the poverty conditions. Okay, so those goals and views and importance in the reports, so those received in the reports of the National Planning Commission, whatever we thought before independence, those ideas and goals were in the place of National Planning Commission, so especially in the deliberations of the Constituent Assembly, and finally in the Constitution of India. Okay, and clues from the nationalist movement, as well as taking some signals from the Soviet Union, especially regarding planning and French styles of planning. So we have so many things, and the National Planning Commission articulated and its objectives of the planning in India, so by seeing all the countries. Okay, so most our National Planning Commission, so it always tried to include all the aspirations and dreams of the nationalist movement, as well as of the future generations. Okay, coming to the some historical deliberations regarding planning. So first one, reviewing the entire situation in the light of the social philosophy evolved over the decades. Okay, so here Constant Assembly came to the conclusion that to guide this revolution of rising expectations into constructive channels. Okay, so it means we have to focus on such things, and it is one type of the revolution of rising expectations into constructive channels. Okay, so in the light of social philosophy, according to the societal changes and philosophy over the decades, so this is the entire situation, and Constant Assembly came to the conclusion. So this is one type of the revolution of rising expectations into constructive channels. Okay, so here India should make some determined efforts. So those efforts through careful plan and large scale social and economic development, and the application of the modern scientific and technological improvements. Okay, so not only planning, but we should improve in the social and economic development and application of the modern scientific and technological improvements, just to bring about the rapid and appreciable rise in the standard of living of the poor people. Okay, the main aim of this is a welfare state. Okay, so the important deliberation not only call for the necessity so of the planning for the country, but it outlines the broader objectives of the planning. Okay, so here the welfare state is very important. The whole aim is to get the welfare state. Okay, so next one is the three important features which are included in the constitutional provisions regarding the planning. Okay, so those also comes under the objectives of the planning in the country. So coming to the first point, so that is economic and social planning is a concurrent subject. It means while framing the those important laws which are related to the concurrent list, so union, state and a concurrent list are there. Okay, so they should allocate the subjects and provisions. The constitution given the power to the union to ensure and coordinate the development in essential fields of activity. Okay, so while preserving those initiatives and authorities of the states in spheres and allotted them. Okay, and it has the power to make a law, and it has a power to list those into the union, state or concurrent, and it has to give initiative and authority to the states, and it has to allot the spheres to them also. Okay, the constitution includes provisions for promoting cooperation on the voluntary basis between union and the states and among states and groups of states also. Okay, so here the constitution has provisions which for the promoting cooperation, especially on the basis of the voluntary. Actually, if they wanted to mingle with other states, it's their wish. Between union and the states, among states, and between groups of states also, especially for the common interest. Okay, in legislative procedures or in administration also. Okay, so finally their objective is cooperative federalism. Okay, cooperation between the states among the union. Okay, and third one is the constitution also sets out in broad terms that the pattern of welfare state. Okay, and fundamental principles also it has to follow. So there is one point which is related to the reforms. Reform is nothing but changing something. So according to the time. So reforms with a human face. Whenever there are some changes in the human face, in the same way there are some. We need to take some important reforms. Okay. So this is one of the important principle that we adopted in India. Okay. So we see the methodology of planning. So taking a U-turn in the era of the economic reforms since early 1990s. Okay, so we got economic reforms in the planning of India. So during 1990s, okay, it means we take a U-turn in the era of economic reforms. The government resolution announcing setting up of the planning commission, especially in March 1950, and it has started with a reference to the constitutional provisions. So those provisions are related to the socio-economic objectives of the constitution. In the same way, planning commission also should start with the socio-economic objectives of the constitution. Okay, so like fundamental rights, DPSP's direct principles of state policy. Next, important things and adequate means of livelihood and opportunities for employment and socio-economic order. So those are based on the justice and equality. So even the planning commission was not a statutory body, but it has to follow the provisions which are related to the socio-economic objectives of the constitution. Okay, so the important these provisions we can see in the first 5 year plan 1951 to 56 itself. Okay, so first 5 year plan only we adopted the things what we discussed in the constitution. Okay, it means to eradicate the poverty and to end off the inequalities in income, wealth, and opportunity. To remove all these inequalities, so it has adopted socio-economic objectives. So the above objectives of the planning also over time, and again it has the emphasis in the one form and in another plan. So that is the second 5 year plan that was started from 1956 and ended in 1961. So in the second plan also it has some emphasis on the socio-economic objectives. Okay, okay, so here it has to focus on employment, investment and production process also. Okay, so the same socio-economic objectives, it means increasing investment, eradication of the poverty, and elimination of the inequalities in income, wealth, and we have to create equal opportunities for the poor people especially. So these same objectives were repeated by the sixth 5 year plan. So the time period is 1980 to 85 in the following terms. Okay, so the main task of the economic planning in India is to bring about the structural transformation of the economy. Okay, it means high and sustained rate of growth. We need to see the growth and progressive improvement in the standard of living of the masses. We should improve the masses their standard of living, and eradication of the poverty and unemployment. Okay, so we have to delete and we have to uh, create employment in the society. Okay, so that is for the self reliant economy. And it will be highly needful to inquire about the objectives of planning in the era of the economic reforms. So basically economic reforms was started in 1991 national economic policy, and it has made the experts and economists to conclude many questionable things about the objectives of the planning in the country. Okay, so those important objectives of the economic reforms, so that is the need to shift dependence from wage to self employment. Okay, so we have to increase ourselves and we have to improve our skills, especially from getting the wage to the self employment. We have to give employment to others, not we are made ourselves as employees. Okay, second one, the state is rolling back and the economy is becoming pro private. Okay, so here they given great importance to the private sector, individuals. Okay, and third one, promotion of foreign investment. So will induce the economy into the neo-imperialism. It means it is using the power to dominate other small countries also. Whenever we are going to take foreign investment more in the country, so maybe it leads to serious action, that is neo-imperialism. So on the basis of foreign investment, they may chance to create power in the other countries also. So maybe they has to follow the domination in that particular country where they are investing more money. Okay. So for the future economic development, so whole economy will be more dependent on the upon the private participation. Okay, so the nature of the planning also will become more indicative. Okay, and with the major objectives of the planning. So actually, so this was announced by the government by launching of the economic reforms 23rd July 1991, and it also commencing the important eighth 5 year plan also in 1992 to 97. In that particular time when it got economic reforms, so there was no change in the basic objectives of the planning, even though there was a change in the instruments of the policy. Okay, so this was announced by the government while announcing the national economic policy 1991. Okay, so in 1997 to 2002, so this was the ninth plan. So especially it was launched and it was announced that the goals of planning in India, which was set by Pandit Ji Jawaharlal Nehru, have not changed. Okay, sorry. So these targets and the plan attempts to achieve those things which are in the experience of the eighth plan. So they address today's problems also and the challenges. So and they try to prepare the nation for tomorrow as well. Okay.